But I'm pleased to say the great man for New Tech, Matty Johns, standing by. Matthew.
Hello, Joel. How you going, Shug? Scope, how are you, brother?
Hey, Matty. How are you, mate?
You beautiful
mate,
tipping
good.
machine. You beautiful tipping
mate.
machine.
I just, honestly, I just get on these runs and it's like, God, please give me a loser. Just convince me I am human.
Did Matty tip a pony the other day?
Oh,
did
mate, ponies, boxes, whatever you
stop
like.
it. How good.
Yeah. We had a result with Thurman, Keith Thurman.
Yep.
Yeah, we had him on the show and he just, the way he held himself, he just looked super confident. And, you know, boys, it's like racehorses. You just have a look at the form. I mean, he'd had one loss. He lost in a split decision to Manny Pacquiao. And although he hadn't fought for 3 years, it was just like, without being a smart ass in hindsight with young Brock, but it was just a class difference, experience, throw it all in.
Hey, Matty, just tell the listener, so your season, right, I imagine it's pretty jam-packed, as a lot of people in the media for rugby league is. When's your sort of Sunday? When's your day off?
Do you know what, Joel? Here's the thing about it, right? Is that I reckon most of the stuff that I would be doing, I'll put it this way: sitting and watching the games and that sort of stuff. You blokes know it's not work. I'll say that quietly because my wife's upstairs and I convinced her. But I have plenty of time. My Sunday's probably Saturday and Tuesday, those 2 days. But boys, I just love it. I go down to my local, the boys go, mate, every time we have a look, you're on the telly. You're working so hard. And I don't tell them it's replays.
Oh, mate, that's beautiful stuff. Newcastle tonight, Matty. This is a big game. They weren't that impressive against the West Tigers. The Dolphins, I couldn't believe they got beaten, really. I thought it was theirs to take against South, but they're hosting the Dolphins. The Safidi boys, you can't tell them apart. I can hardly tell these two teams apart.
Yeah, it's a hard one, isn't it? I had a look at the odds before, and I mean, I think given the fact that the Dolphins lost last week, they're going to be desperate to pick one up. And look, they had a lot going on last week. There was a lot of distractions. They were handicapped, with players staying in Queensland. It's a really hard one to pick. In these sort of tight games, you look for the class individual, and he was the difference last week, Kalen Ponga.
Yeah.
But you got the hammer tonight. It's as a Newcastle man, it's one of those ones I'm nervous about. Newcastle, sometimes the games you don't expect them to come up for, they do, and this game's a really, really tricky one.
How do you reckon Jack Cogger and Fletcher Sharp are going to handle the week, Matty?
It's going to be really interesting for Jack. I feel for Jack. Amongst all this, I mean, with young Fletcher, everybody is saying that there's going to be a spot there for Fletcher that they're talking about. I mean, they're talking about the spine already and saying that Fletcher's going to be in 7 or 6. But Cogs is the one I really feel for because he's caught in the middle of it. Hasn't even rated a mention. And he's terrific football. It's been difficult, Scope, for him going back into Newcastle. He was in that Penrith system, and the strength of the Penrith system is it's the system itself. It's not the individual, and that's where you see like young Cole going into the side, and they just slip into the machine. And it was the same with when Cogs was at Penrith. He just knew the structure and everything inside out. They're so well coordinated and synchronised, and he just hasn't been able to fit in the same at Newcastle.
Hey, Matty, talking about systems, right? So the Craig Bellamy doco's out. I haven't seen it. Apparently it's pretty good.
Yeah, very good.
Mate, Cooper obviously spent a fair bit of time with Bellyache. What does he tell you about him?
We spoke about it on the family podcast coming out tomorrow. He went into depth about it, Cooper. He said a typical Craig Bellamy week will start with, okay, we're playing the Dolphins. And he'll hit you with information about all the sides and go away, have a look at this cut, this what he likes to do. As the week goes on, the focus narrows. And he said to the point that the last 2 days, it's really, really basic messaging. Really, really simple. He said he goes in and he might walk up. He said he'll walk up before the game, he'll look at you, and he said he gets quite anxious. He sort of paces around. And he said, an example, we played the Titans once, and he said, I was going to be standing opposite Dave Fafita. And he said, of all the things I had to worry about, Bellyache walked up and said, how you feeling? Coop said, yeah, I feel good. I'm okay. He said, all I want you worrying about today is getting off the line quick and putting your body in front of the bloke. That was it. That was the messaging. And when we watched the doco, there was me, myself, and the two boys. When they showed a half time and before the game, Jack could not believe how simple the messaging was from Craig Bellamy. Just very, very succinct, straight to the point, and that was it. No fluff, no talking for 5 or 10 minutes, because you know what it's like, boys. You get in there sometimes, particularly at half time. You've expelled all the adrenaline out of you. You're thinking, you're sitting yourself, you're absolutely rooted, and you think, man, I've got to go out and do this again for another 40 minutes. You don't want the coach standing in front of you, saturating you with information for 8 to 10 minutes. You just want one strong message, and that's what Coop said he's very good at, Bellyache.
You know what, Matty? You made me think about this. So Bellamy comes through the Tim Sheens school, right?
Yep.
Yes.
And the only thing I remember from playing from a coaching point of view that really sticks, I remember one year, Matty, that Tim Sheens gave us 3 Avery labels each, and they each had on it kick chase, marker defence, quick play the ball. And this is like 20 years ago, and I still vividly remember it. He said, right, I put one on the dashboard of your car, put one in your shower, and put one wherever you get changed or whatever else, right? And his focus every single game was those 3 metrics. Yep. Were we the best in the comp kick chase? Were we the best at quick play the ball? Were we the best at marker defence? Those 3 things was all he was concerned about. And whilst it was a very flashy side, that West Tigers side, you saw Benji come on and Hodjo and Scotty Prince. At the end of the day, behind all that, to allow the flashiness, was those 3 things, Matty.
And that's the thing, isn't it, boys? You think about some really basic fundamentals of the game, and if you're good at them, geez, it carries you a long way. Now fellas, I think Sheens, as far as when we look back in the history of the game, his contribution is so underestimated. If you have a look at all the coaches, guys that are coaching around now and have coached, so many of them come into the Tim Sheens system. And a lot of ways, boys, I reckon I think he probably harmed himself a little bit along the way, because he was one of the great, as you blokes know, he used to love to experiment with football. And I remember when they won 2005, the Tigers played a completely different style of football. It was a game where it was defence dominated, but all of a sudden he started playing sideline to sideline football, skill-based game, and just blew teams apart. Then went into next year and tried to play a different style of football. It was just the nature of how Sheensy worked. I remember talking to one of the Tigers boys in 2006 and said, why aren't you doing the same stuff you're doing last year? He's moved. And he said, mate, that's just Sheensy. He just tries to evolve all the time, sometimes to his detriment. But, Bellamy was so lucky. He came through under Tim Sheens, left Canberra and went to the Broncos, and then served under Wayne as an assistant coach. It's a pretty good schooling.
What about this, Scope? I'm just thinking about what Matty's saying now.
Yeah.
So the Tim Sheens coaching tree, if you like. So the Australian coach is who?
Mal Meninga.
Who was coached by Tim Sheens. The Queensland coach is who?
Billy Slater.
Who Tim Sheens coached Bellamy, who's coached Billy Slater.
Yeah.
The New South Wales coach is
anyone that's come out of the Bellamy tree has come out of the Sheens tree.
The New South Wales coach is Laurie Daly.
Yeah.
Coached by mate, you're right, Matty.
And who was the last bloke who coached New South Wales?
Madge.
It was Michael Maguire.
Exactly.
Tim Sheens. Dave Ferner.
Yeah, wow.
Came coach. If you run through the list,
that's impressive.
It's the strongest coaching tree. More than Warren Ryan. More than the Wayne Bennett one. Sheens it's bore the most fruit.
Matty, I've seen you talking about my old team at the start of the week with Cooper of the Cronk variety, and you were discussing Manly's chances this year. I'm with you, mate. You're a little bit reluctant to sort of put them in the top echelon. It's more so, on the same where they looked really good when they're on. It's just those games where they sort of get into an arm wrestle that I have my concerns. What's your... For those that might have missed it at the start of the week, mate, is that sort of what you're thinking with Manly this year?
Oh, definitely, Scope. Yeah, I'm with you. I'm really cautious with Manly, because that first game against the Cowboys was very much a Manly game in the fact that they started a million miles an hour, everything stuck. They weren't put under fatigue. Like, the Cowboys were terrible. Manly were very, very good, but the Cowboys put them under no stress at all. My problem with Manly all the time, and whenever I think of Manly, like the picture I'm getting in my head now is Brookvale, 4 Pines Park, Sunday afternoon, nice and dry.
Yeah.
They start the game, they're zinging it from sideline to sideline, they look $1 million. They're going to win by 30 points. Suddenly they get an error. Fatigue comes in. Suddenly the opposition start to get a little bit of momentum, and they have a little bit of ascendancy, and suddenly the game's on the line. I want to see Manly get into a game where they're a fair way off their best, against a top-line team, one of the elite teams, but they find a way to win through grit and win through defence.
What about this assignment for the Roosters, Matty? You play the Broncos round 1, and then you've got the Panthers, the reigning champs. No Lindsay Collins.
Yeah, tough, isn't it? Like, yeah, I'm sitting there thinking about what Trent Robinson would be thinking. Like, what's he after in this game? And the thing about with Penrith, mate, they're just, it says it all. When you win 4 comps in a row, I'm stating the obvious here. They're just ruthless. They'll they're not going to take it. They're not going to take the foot off the throat. And the fact is, the Roosters arriving out there, no love's lost, so they're going to go at a million miles an hour. Could get ugly, but Roosters sometimes, they'll step up. They've still got. I mean, it's still a decent side, but they're under the pump. And that's, I reckon, like Scope, Sugar, like just talking about sides there and what they need and what you're looking for. That little bit, what we just said about ruthlessness about Penrith, that no matter who they're up against, they're going to just get into. That's exactly what the Sharkies need. If we're talking about teams who have to take that next step and win and compete, they need just that. The Sharkies need that ruthlessness, where they're going to pin sides on their own line and they're just going to tear into them. They've got to develop into a side that teams fear. The teams don't want to play because they just make it uncomfortable for you. I just think, the Sharks, I reckon the commentary coming out of that first Sharks games was very typical Sharks in the last couple of years. How'd they play? They were really good, actually. They were unlucky. They just didn't win. That's how we talk about the Sharks all the time. The Sharks had an opportunity to win that game against Penrith, but just got beat at the end. Just that little bit of a squeeze. They needed something a little bit more, and they didn't come up with it. That's the next step for the Sharks.
I tell you what, Matty, if you're looking for a guest for one of your shows there, I'll tell you, Scopey interviewed Cody Ramsey last week.
Oh, awesome.
Mate, one of the great interviews.
I heard about it. Yeah, I'm going to source it because I had a couple of blokes say to me, it was just incredible. Yeah, good on your Scope. It's good, mate.
Mate, Brooksy organised it from here, Matty, with Jimmy Smith on
great
Sunday,
story.
and I didn't expect it to, sort of, go the way that it went. But what a story, mate! The level of gratitude. The perseverance for a young player, mate. If you do get the opportunity to get him in, highly recommend him for sure.
Yeah, no, I'm definitely going to have a listen. I meant to do it the other day, but you know what happens. I mean, you get 53. Your mind, it's honestly, you're like a tadpole. You have these great ideas. There's a fire burning in me, but my mind just won't stay on track.
The other team that I'm really bullish on, Matty, is the Brisbane Broncos. I went the early crow. I only had to watch the Roosters game on Thursday night before I come here on Friday last week and declared them as genuine contenders. What's your read on them, mate?
No doubt, Scope. You knew when he was going to get there, Madge. He was going to give them exactly what they wanted. Exactly what they needed. Probably not what they wanted, which was a season that he was just going to tear into them. The moment I saw their physiques in the trial game against the Titans, I went, mate, they can win the comp. They're up to it. They're just rock hard fit, and you see the benefits. Like, there's a lot of stuff saying Madge, trains him too hard, and he's too intense. Right, I get all that. But don't judge what he did at the Tigers and what he's going to do at the Broncos. Now, it's shown there, and no offence to the Tigers, right? But he had to be that bloke at the Tigers to get them winning. He had to work them all the time. They had to be super fit. They had to be intense. Otherwise, they wouldn't win games. And when you look back at his time at the Tigers, you realise he was actually doing a good job. He did a good job there. But when you look at the Broncos, just the way they played in the trial matches, how direct they were, how decisive they were, how fit they were, how well they were moving because of how fit they were, how energised in defence they were because of how fit they were, you just go, mate, this team can win the competition. I like them. As soon as I saw that trial game against the Titans, they were my pick to win the competition.
Yeah, Matty, I did some content at the start of the year with Jesse Arthurs and Katoni Staggs, and just off camera I was asking him a few questions about training hard, and this sums him up, and I reckon this is, you're going to love this. Like I said to Jesse, I go, he's been as hard as, advertised, as, Madge coming there, and Matt, like the one big thing that Jesse said that Madge preaches, that there's no such thing as hard training, there's no such thing as easy training. There's just training and preparing. Yeah. Like, we don't say hard training anymore. That's not a thing. Yeah. It's just you're training to prepare, and that's how they've looked, mate. You said the Titans trial, they looked so good against the Bulldogs. I thought they could even run up more against the Bulldogs in the trial, and then they backed it up with a huge performance against the Roosters.
mate, and Scope, Sugar, when you watch the Bellamy documentary, right, so the Storm do for the new recruits, they do the 3-day camp where they torture them, but now they do a 1-day camp where they're all got to be involved, 24-hour camp. So what they do is the players have trained hard down at Geelong Grammar, and then what they're doing, they can have a quick video, then they're all going to go out for dinner. And the players are quite excited. They're going to have dinner and a few beers, and they've earned it, and they're all sitting there. Next minute, there's a bang on the door. Ryan Hinchcliffe answers it. In walks these commandos, and he goes, fellas, what you're about to experience in the next 24 hours is like nothing you've experienced in your life. And you see all the faces just drop. Now, you just think about that, right? If you can get through that, mentally, if you get through that, playing at 3 p.m. on a Sunday afternoon is nothing. That's how it should be. Training must be harder than playing.
Can't wait to see it, Matty. And by the way, last week, the ratings for Get 'Em Onside, which follow your show, the Matty Johns show, were through the roof because you went 15 minutes later. So feel free to do it again to pull the ratings through for us, mate. We appreciate that. Have a great show tonight. We'll catch you soon.
We're juggernauts, guys. That's what we do.
What, you're still here? Well, you can see more on the Joel and Fletch socials and catch us live on SEN Radio, you beautiful humans.